In today's episode, we have to give 2 penalties, 2 sin bins. We even caution the manager. There's a lot happening in this week's episode of Behind the Whistle. My name's Eric, I'm a level 5 referee here in England, and I take you in the day in the life of what it's like to referee grassroots football here in England. Today, I'm officiating my first ever match on the Gloucestershire County League. This match is between Quedgeley Wanderers and Hanham Athletic. The game. What a horrible day. It was lovely this morning and then it has started absolutely pouring down right before the game. First game in the County League. It was different. It was tough. Like, the players are different in terms of their attitude. It's strange. I don't know what I'd quite put my finger on to describe it, but it was different. I'm gonna have to learn how to manage it because I ended up giving 2 sin bins and cautioning the away manager for dissent as well. So 3 cautions for dissent is kind of too much, to be honest. Either the first one didn't have the impact, or my tolerance is too low, or I didn't manage it correctly, or their attitude's wrong, which is also a possibility. But like, there's also an element of management that I could have done to reduce it. We gave a caution for delaying the restart and then a caution for reckless play as well. So 5 cautions total. I think when I watch it back, we'll see that I'm way too central a lot again. I felt very low energy today. I didn't feel 100%, so I didn't get around the pitch as well as I would have liked to. We also gave 2 penalties for handball, 1 for each team, so we'll watch those back as well. So there's a few things to look at, and there were some cracking tackles, like, you know, bringing the game back sort of tackles, so we'll make sure to check those out as well. But I'm gonna go home. I feel very tired, and I'll see you guys when we do the review. First proper league game of the season. Obviously we refereed Chip and Sodbury versus Stratford in the Hellenic League, which was a great experience, but the majority of my games are going to be on the County League this season. So, first game, Quedgeley versus Hanham. This was an interesting game. Like I said in post-match, I didn't feel like I refereed great. I wasn't terrible, but I was by no means my best, and I felt a little bit low energy. My little girl, who's not very old, is struggling with sleep at the minute, and so yeah, any of you dads or mums out there that watch the videos, if you got any tips on how to survive on a lack of sleep and then go and referee on a Saturday, please let me know. But overall, no, it was okay. The game went well. I feel like I got major decisions correct, just a few, I guess, game management things that could be improved on, and definitely a lot of positioning work, which we'll dive into. So the first real situation we get in the game is about 10 minutes in for this high foot situation. There are shouts, and again, you won't be able to hear the shouts very well this game as it was absolutely blowing a gale and pouring down with rain. But you'll have situations like this in your games where people shout, "Ref, high foot, high foot." But what does that really mean? In the laws of the game, there's no such thing as a high foot. What this really means is something that comes under playing in a dangerous manner. Playing in a dangerous manner is any action that, whilst trying to play the ball, threatens injury to someone, including the player themselves, and includes preventing a nearby opponent from playing the ball for a fear of injury. Typically, when we think about a high foot, as an isolated incident, there's nothing wrong with putting your foot at head height to control the ball. There's nothing wrong with that. Until there's another player that wants to challenge for that ball, but can't, out of a fear of being injured. This situation here meets that criteria for me, and so I've given a free kick for playing in a dangerous manner, or as you just say to players, high foot. The restart for playing in a dangerous manner would be an indirect free kick. This is because there's no contact involved in this foul, and so that's why it then becomes an indirect free kick. I hope that makes sense. You will see also though that the number 11 this is quite upset, and he doesn't really understand why I've given it, explaining that the lad has ducked his head down and so it's not really his fault. But as we'll see from the replay here, he's not really ducked his head that much. The foot is still way above waist height, and so for me this is playing in a dangerous manner. We then have our first penalty decision to make. So a couple things to break down here. On the break, there's a coming together between these two players here. For me, it was just shoulder to shoulder. There's no foul there, and so we let it run. As that ball comes through, you'll see this defender here step across. For me, that's not enough for a foul. He's then tripped over, which has caused the lad to go down, and so it's still not a foul for me. And then we bring the ball to a stop here by giving a foul for the slide tackle here. A few things to go through really. So as these players come together, you can see that from my position, I've got a good angle on what's going on here. So I've got a good line of vision. For me, like I said, it's not enough for a penalty. It's just coming together. But what I should have done is stop play here for this slide tackle. I let play carry on for too long because this lad had got the ball, but I should have just stopped play straight away for that free kick, and that would have just settled the game down a little bit. We then get our first actual penalty of the game for handball. It's really difficult to tell on camera what happens. So as that ball bounces in, he flicks it up with his hand, and then as the ball's coming towards him, he makes a deliberate attempt to play the ball and the arm strikes him around here. Obviously his arm is very, very close to his body, but he makes a deliberate action with his arm to play it. And so for me, this meets the criteria of obviously deliberately handling the ball, and so that's why I've given a penalty. So we get our first decision of the game in regards to whether we should give a yellow card or, you know, any sort of disciplinary action. So this is an interesting situation because both players come sliding in on each other, and you'll see that it's hard to tell on the camera, but this leg that's underneath here is the red player's leg. So as he slid in, he's gone under the one guy's leg, the guy in green's gone over his leg. It's almost like a bit of a crossover between them as they both slid in for the ball. From where I was, it was very difficult to tell if anyone had actually won the ball. As we can see, it looks like the green players kind of nudged it round, but in the moment it was very difficult. There's a lot of reaction, but yeah, the number 6 gets up pretty quick after the foul is given. To be honest, I wasn't sure if the tackle was reckless or not. It happened so quick and they were both sliding in at the same time. I wasn't really 100% sure what I'd seen. So first things first, I just checked on the number 6 to make sure he was safe, make sure he didn't need any treatment or anything like that, which he didn't. And then we asked the captain to pull in the lad that committed the foul. In all honesty, I didn't actually know who'd done it. I made the mistake of not looking at the number or the player before I checked on the player in green, and so it took a couple seconds for me to convince the red captain to bring their player in. Finally they do, so I just have a word with them and say, look, we have to be careful when going into challenges like that. For now it's just a talking to, but any other tackles like that will likely lead into some sort of discipline. So the keeper's got the ball in his hands, we start counting down from 8 seconds and we get this challenge out on the wing. You'll see from the clip that as the lad is running in, he's only got eyes for the defender who's about to play the ball. Okay, he's not looking at the ball at all. He's only looking and playing the defender. So as he challenges and jumps into him, it's not really reckless. It's just, you don't want people acting like that when challenging for the ball. So rather than let green play, we just stop play and we bring the lad in to have a chat. We basically explain to him that if he's going to challenge for the ball, it needs to at least be looking at it. Otherwise, it's just going to rub people up the wrong way, and he takes it on board and we get on with it. There's a quick break from the team in red and we kind of get caught out of position a little bit. So as they break, I kind of make what's called kind of a half-hearted sprint. And as that ball's played in, I'm kind of caught out of position here, because you'll see that as this lad receives the ball, it's a really kind of, if his touch would have been better, this could have been a really high risk kind of area of the pitch. And here I'm about, what, maybe 30 yards away. I should really be in this position here. So I'm a lot closer to play and I'd be able to see anything that happens. So In this occasion, I'm a bit too far away. Like I said, I was feeling a bit low energy. I didn't really feel like I could really get going. And so I've just got to manage my kind of pre-game prep better and just make sure I've got a bit more energy going into it. But I need to be in this position here. This would have allowed me to be in a better position if anything happened. Thankfully it didn't, but you got to be prepared if it could. We then get this tackle. So you'll see from the video that the ball does go off to the side and he does win the ball. However, for me, he's come through the man first to win the ball. And so this is still a foul. Again, it's hard to see from the camera. For me, he's come through the player first to win the ball. And so it's still a foul. And you'll hear this a lot from players. I got the ball, which is completely fair. However, it's not if you've got to come through the opposition player to do that first. I see a lot of comments, people saying the game's gone, but this tackle brought the game back. Now there'll be some opinions on this one. Let's watch it back. As the lad controls it, from my angle, it looked like it struck his shoulder. We can see here that it may have been his arm, it may have been his shoulder. I couldn't really tell from my angle here. But then as that lad comes in, he obviously seems a prime opportunity to win the ball. And he comes in and gets the tackle absolutely perfect. This is a really strong tackle. And there's nothing wrong with this in my opinion. However, if he doesn't get this absolutely right, then yeah, it could have been an early shower. But for me, this is a perfectly fine tackle and one that people on a Saturday afternoon in the amateur game like to see. But it's interesting, I had some referees tell me that they believe this is a yellow card for reckless play even though he's won the ball. And I'd be really interested to know what you guys think. Do you think this tackle is completely fair? Or do you think this is reckless or maybe even endangering the safety of the opponent? We then get a short outburst from the number 11, who we'd already had one from at the start of the game. For me, the contact from him into the red player is in the back, not shoulder to shoulder. It's not a fair challenge for the ball, in my opinion. He gives me this outburst saying it's not a foul, blah, blah, which, to be honest, really borders on the line of dissent anyway, right? Dissent is publicly disagreeing with the referee's decision, which is what he's done. So I've told him not to shout at me, and if we get an outburst like that again, then he'll be going for a sin bin. This free kick then leads to a corner and we get another interaction with him. We get this clearance from the centre half, so the ball gets crossed in, the centre half clears it, and there's a bit of a coming together between the striker and the defender. I may have missed a little foul, it may have just been a fair challenge, I'm not really sure watching it back, I'm not sure there's a lot in it. Anyway, the ball ends up going out of play, and the number 11 here starts complaining about that tackle. I tell him to leave it out and he says that I am so we show him a yellow card and he goes off for a 10-minute sin bin. After I give him the yellow card, he carries on saying the same thing that he'd already just said. And I ask him to go off to the other side of the pitch to not waste time of walking across the pitch, and he keeps on verbally dissenting. Part of me was upset that he was still verbally dissenting even though I showed him a yellow card, and I would have been completely within my rights to send him off, but I didn't feel like it was appropriate or needed for the game. Even his own players were telling him to, you know, be quiet and blah blah blah. So we let him have his little moment, and yeah, he takes a 10-minute sin bin. Shortly after that, the team in green go 1-0 up. So is this a foul? Should it have been a goal? Let's have a look. So as that ball comes in, I'm in a relatively good position to see the tackle between the striker and the goalkeeper. And although it's relatively good, it's not great. From here, I can see that there's not really a foul. However, I can't see where the contact is made here. So if I'd have moved across to this position, I'd have had a better line of sight to see if that striker had made contact with the ball with his arm, or if there's any kind of foul play there. So I'm in an okay position, but I'm not in a great one. I don't know if this ball came off the striker's arm or not. For me, it just looked like he challenged the goalkeeper. The keeper didn't do well enough to punch it or hold it, and so it's just a goal for me. But if I'd have moved into this position here, then I probably would have had a better angle to see if there was any contact with the arm, which obviously would have rendered the goal invalid. It wouldn't have been a goal due to handball. So it's okay, but it's not great. Being slightly wider in a position like this would be more beneficial. There's a couple of weak kind of claims, but once I give the goal, no one really continues arguing. And so I don't believe any of the players really thought it was a foul, and absolutely nobody mentioned handball at all. So I think we got this one right, but yeah, difficult to know for sure. And that's half time. A couple things to cover in that first half, but the second half gets a lot more interesting, a lot more juicy. So let's jump into that. We give a free kick to the red team, which unfortunately we can't see because of the rain on the camera, but it leads to a penalty decision. You'll see from that my angle, his arm is away from his body and he brings it in towards the ball. And so for me, it's a simple penalty decision to give. The home assistant referee, the club official, the club linesman, the club AR, whatever you'd like to call them, raises their flag for this offside. The less said about that, the better. We then have to issue our second sin bin of the game, except this time it's for a player on the red team. So that ball comes in, he tries to control it. There's a slight challenge, but not enough for a foul. And as I give the throw in, he says, "Oh, ref." It's actually quite comical. You'll see the reaction from some of the players when he says it. He kind of blurts it out. But I'd already given a sin bin to somebody else for swearing at me. He's then said this out of frustration, and yeah, we've got no choice but to show him a yellow card and issue a sin bin. The team in green then go ahead and score this goal to go 2-1 up. We then have to defuse a little situation again. Ball gets played up, the number 7 jumps into the back of the red player, and then there's a little bit of afters afterwards. There's absolutely no need for it. We pull them both in for a chat and we basically explain to them that I understand you're competitive and you want to win. I've not got a problem with that, but any of this stuff off the ball, I just will not tolerate. So basically just to rein it in. Very shortly after that free kick, the team in red go 3-1 up. We then have a similar situation last week where I give a poor advantage and we have to bring it back. I hadn't read any of the comments that were in last week's video before this week's video because we operate a week delay. So I hadn't used some of the advice I actually read this morning when you guys commented. So thank you so much for that. I can't remember who it was, but I'll pop their comment and their name up here. It made a very good point that when situations happen like this and you want to play an advantage, keep quiet and just wait 2 or 3 seconds to see what happens. If from here we can see there's no clear advantage, I can just bring back the foul. But the fact that I've said advantage and I've let them play, then as he loses the ball, the other team feel aggrieved because they feel like they've had 2 opportunities to attack. Thank you for that. It makes a lot of sense. And on next week's video, hopefully I'll be able to show you an example where I did that. We then give a yellow card for reckless play. So the ball comes up and the number 9 challenges in a manner that I just don't think is okay. It'll be very hard to see from this camera angle because it's on the reverse. But you'll see that as that ball comes in, he loads his arm forward and then throws it back as he's challenging for that ball. For me, he's tried to use the elbow, use his arms in a way that for me is reckless. It's not violent conduct, it's not that sort of malice. However, those sorts of challenges, I don't know, they just didn't feel right to me. And so I gave a yellow card under reckless play. The ball gets kicked away, but I kind of miss it because I'm focused on showing the yellow card. And then the number 9 says some words as he's walking away. So we pull him and the captain in to basically explain, look, I've just given him a yellow card for the way he's acted. If he's going to give me verbals on the way, then there's a risk of him being sent off. So to basically rein that in. As I'm then talking to him, we get shouts from the green team's bench. So we head over to the bench and we show a yellow card to the manager. The manager wasn't the one that said something. However, I know that somebody said something from the benches. So when this happens, if you're unable to identify who has made the offence in the subs bench, the staff, then the lead team official, the manager, will take the caution because they're responsible for their, I guess, team's behaviour. So that's why I've shown a yellow card to the manager, even though it wasn't him who made the comment. We're then getting very close to the end of the game and the temperatures are starting to heat up a little bit. And so I give this foul here for the way that this lad jumps in. They lose possession, so we give the foul. You can see that people are visibly upset. And then the player that is taking the free kick nudges the ball forward. I tell him here to go back into his own half and he takes it back and then obviously brings it forward again. And so I show him a yellow card for delaying the restart. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is full time. Not my best performance by any means, but no disaster. First game in the County League under the belt, and I will see you guys next week.